Hello, you are watching VNA Broadcast Daily. Let's have a look at the headlines.
5 bills are presented to the National Assembly for consideration, together with a report on draft amendments to the 1992 Constitution. The upcoming visit by the President of the European Council is expected to further step up cooperation with Vietnam. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment announced the 2011 report on the country's biodiversity.
On October 29th, 5 bills were presented to the National Assembly for consideration, together with a report on draft amendments to the 1992 Constitution.
The 5 drafts included the Land Law, the Law on Disaster Preparedness and Prevention, the Law on Reconciliation Work at the local level, and the Law on Terrorism Prevention and Control. Regarding the Land Law project, the report presented by Minister of Natural Resources and Environment Nguyễn Minh Quang affirmed that the land law will be amended from the perspective that land is owned by the people as a whole and is managed by the state on behalf of the people. Meanwhile, the draft revised constitution will have 11 chapters and 126 articles, including 18 original articles, 13 completely new articles, and 95 amended articles. The National Assembly Law Committee proposed holding a referendum on the draft amendments from January 2nd to March 31st. The referendum will be organized so that every social class could have their say on every aspect of the amended constitution. The same day, the deputies discussed in groups the draft resolution on conducting votes of confidence on persons holding positions elected or approved by the National Assembly or People's Councils.
The President of the European Council, Herman Van Rompuy, will visit Vietnam from October 31st to November 2nd, which is seen as a display of the EU's wish to step up cooperation with the Southeast Asian country. Let's have a look at the relationship between Vietnam and the EU.
The visit is the first made by an European Union Council President to Vietnam since the European Union and Vietnam set up diplomatic ties in the 1990s. The EU officially opened its representative mission in Hanoi in 1996, paving the way for bilateral ties to develop rapidly. The EU has become one of Vietnam's leading partners, especially in economics, trade and investment. Two-way trade has grown by an average 15-20% each year, from 4.1 billion USD in 2000 to more than 24 billion USD in 2011. The amount exceeded 18 billion USD in the first 8 months of this year, up 23% year-on-year. EU member countries are also the leading investors in Vietnam. By August 2012, 20 EU countries had invested in Vietnam, operating 1,226 projects with a total registered capital of 4.75 billion USD. The EU is also the second largest bilateral donor of official development assistance, with over 13 billion USD pledged for the country during 1996-2012. It is the largest provider of non-refundable aid to Vietnam.
Australia's naval warship HMAS Sydney docked at Nha Rong Port in Ho Chi Minh City on October 29th, beginning a 6-day goodwill visit in the city.
During their stay, the crew will meet with senior officers and sailors from the Vietnamese People's Navy. They will also engage in a range of goodwill activities and conduct a professional exchange on shipborne helicopter operations. 35 officials and 194 sailors on the ship will also host a visit by children from Bình Minh Special School, which is supported by Laureate Vietnam-Australia program, as well as taking advantage of the opportunity to explore Vietnam's rich culture and meet people in the country. Vietnam and Australia have established bilateral defense cooperation relationship since 1999. Until now, the Australian Defence Force has helped train over 1,200 Vietnamese People's Army officers in Vietnam and Australia.
The laws on the sea of both Vietnam and the Republic of Korea were discussed at an international seminar which took place in the city of Busan on October 29. The event was jointly organized by the Research Center for the Law of the Sea under the Vietnam Research Institute of Yongsan University and the Institute of Ocean Sciences under the Republic of Korea's Ministry of Natural Resources, Land and Oceanography. Dr. Võ Khánh Vinh, a representative of the Vietnam Academy of Social Sciences, presented the basic content of the Law of the Sea of Vietnam. This is the second time within a week that the law on the Sea of Vietnam has been tabled for discussion by the two countries' scholars and researchers. Participants at the event agreed that the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea is an important legal basis for coastal countries like Vietnam and the Republic of Korea to affirm their sovereignty and jurisdiction in accordance with the Convention. It is also a foundation for the demarcation of the seas overlapped with other countries. Vietnamese youth brought the message "United we stand" to the Japan-ASEAN Youth Leaders Summit, which opened in Tokyo on October 29th as part of the 39th Ship for Southeast Asian Youth Program. Vietnamese ambassador to Japan Đoàn Xuân Hương said that Vietnam values the significance of the program in increasing mutual understanding, cooperation and friendship among young people of Japan and Southeast Asian countries. The Ship for Southeast Asian Youth Program is a cooperation project between Japan and ASEAN. It was first organized by the Japanese government and ASEAN in 1974. Vietnam joined the program in 1996. This year, the program started on October 23rd and will run until December 14. The ship is scheduled to take more than 300 youths to 5 ASEAN countries of Vietnam, Thailand, Singapore, Brunei, and Indonesia. Retail sales of goods and services exceeded 200.9 trillion Vietnam dongs, or $9.6 billion nationwide in October, an increase of 1.3% over the previous month, the General Statistics Office announced on October 29. The gains represented a slowdown in growth from September's month-on-month increase of 2.3%. Experts attributed September's jump in retail sales to an abrupt rise in the cost of healthcare services and rising demand for textbooks and school supplies as the new school year began. 10-month retail sales reached 1,917 trillion Vietnam dongs, or $91.3 billion, an increase of around 6.8% over the same period last year. The average annualized growth in retail sales has remained below 6% since April, a long way from figures in early 2011 when sales was expanding at rates of 7.7 to 17%. The 8th Conference of the Asian Network of Major Cities opened in Hanoi on October 30th. This year's event focuses on measures to fight infectious diseases in the region.
The network organizes this annual conference to strengthen socio-economic cooperation among its 13 member cities, including Hanoi, Bangkok, Jakarta, Kuala Lumpur, Manila, and Seoul. During the 3-day event, the delegates will focus on several important issues, including current infectious diseases, models of supervising influenza, and controlling diseases during and after natural disasters, and the treatment and management of patients with HIV/AIDS and tuberculosis. It also offers an opportunities for scientists, policymakers, and experts to exchange their experiences and put forward measures and action plans to deal with infectious diseases around the region.
The Ministry of Natural Resources and the Environment announced the 2011 report on the country's biodiversity in Hanoi on October 30th.
The report, the second of its kind, includes 4 chapters, including an overview of current biodiversity, the reasons behind the falling biodiversity, mechanisms, policies and human resources needed to retain biodiversity, and trends in biodiversity and the way forward over the next 5 years. The report shows a rapid decrease in the nation's biodiversity compared to 2005, the year the first national report on biodiversity was published. To minimize the impacts and pressures on biodiversity, the report defines challenges to biodiversity and puts forward tasks and solutions that need to be carried out between now and 2016 to increase the efficiency of biodiversity conservation in Vietnam.
And that's all we have for today. Thank you for watching and see you next time.